welcome to my 1 year 10,000 kilometer review of the CFMOTO 800MT Touring Limited Edition. And I just want to give you my quick impressions of what it's been like to live with this bike for the last year, putting 10,000 kilometers on it. I'll give you some positives and a few negatives, but just to let the cat out of the bag early, overwhelmingly it's been such a positive experience to own this bike. So you'll primarily find that I'll have good things to say, but it's not perfect, just like any bike. So I'll start with a couple of the issues I've had. So the very first issue I had with this bike was when I gave it its first service at 1,000 kilometers. I over torqued one of the bolts at the sump, which I had the torque wrench on the right setting, so I was a little bit suspicious of that, and I've never, it cost me about $250 to get a replacement sump and servicing kit, but I was a little bit maybe suspicious of the build quality because, like I said, I had the torque wrench at the right torque setting, so I was a little bit suspicious that had been the case, but ever since then it's been fine. I just don't torque it up as much as it says on the specifications, and it's never leaked either. This bike has never lost any oil at all. The second is a super recent thing. The last time I rode this road actually is I was on my way back. I was doing some riding in the dirt, and all of a sudden my quick shifter just stopped working completely. Up or down it wasn't working, and then intermittently it would start working again, but then it wasn't. I didn't trust it. So I pulled over in a nearby town, did some googling. I couldn't find anyone else with a CFMOTO who'd had this issue, but I found a BMW forum where someone had had issues with their quick shifter. It seems like they can be pretty finicky, and they suggested you can reset the sensor on them by putting them on the center stand if you've got one, and of course these bikes come with them as stock. Run the engine in neutral and then click through all the gears, and lo and behold it works. And I have to say it's working better now than it has previously. So I don't know, there was an existing issue there, or maybe the sensor wasn't right up, but it's working a treat now. But it's due its 12-month service, so I'll get, when I take it in to get serviced, I'll get them to double check it and make sure everything's okay. It didn't pop up with any warnings or anything like that on the screen, so who knows, just a little gremlin. Negatives. Another negative is, you might have noticed from my other videos that I've taken off my the little screen lengthening thingy that I bought off AliExpress, just because I thought it looked really dorky, which it does, but I regret doing it because I forgot how much buffeting I get as a 6'2" tall man. I get off the highest position of this screen. I mean, it's a really windy day here today in Victoria, Australia, but you might hear just how noisy my helmet is. be looking to put that back on, or I might even lash out and buy a taller screen, an aftermarket one. In terms of the mods I've made to this bike, you might notice the first one is I put a quad lock on it, so I can use my phone as a GPS. I don't have anything against the GPS unit that you can use on the main screen, but my phone does a good job of that, so I'm happy to use that. And yeah, it just that I'm prone to losing my phone, so if it's on my handlebars, I know where it is at all times. Since I've got the, well, I'll go first to last. I got new tyres fitted, Midas EO7 Plus. I think they're 60/40s or 50/50s, I don't know. But they're, for someone with my very, very modest off-road riding abilities, they've been really good. They've given me the confidence to have a bit of a crack at that. But in terms of their road performance, they might as well be road tyres. They are so good. So I haven't noticed the difference between those and the Maxxis tyres that came as standard on this, and I was really happy with the Maxxis tyres in terms of being road tyres. They did suffer a little bit when it came to being off-road tyres, but these are super good. They leave me with the confidence to ride as I would normally ride. I was probably a little bit worried. Oh, the one thing that perhaps anyone with a few more brain cells with me that would expect that I didn't expect is having quite an aggressive knobbly tyre on did lead to more mirror vibrations at sort of anything from 60 k's an hour and over. So the mirrors before that were dead smooth with the stock tyres, and now I've noticed that they do vibrate a little bit. They're still incredibly clear, but that's just one thing I did mention in my video when I got the tyres that I've noticed since then. But definitely would not put me off having more fit for purpose tyres on this bike. With the more aggressive tyres, I did end up putting on a radiator guard just to protect it from any stone chips. I mean, the front mud guard is pretty comprehensive and pretty good, but I just hate to be left stranded somewhere because I managed to damage my radiator and overheat the bike. So it just gives me a little bit of a peace of mind that that's going to protect against this, you know, potential stone chip or tree branch or something like that, or stick along the line. It was very little cost for that little bit of peace of mind. And then of course I bought the top box because this bike was one of the bikes from the Australian MotoGP in 2023. So if you were watching that GP, you would have seen this and a couple of other bikes being used by the track officials. Say for example a rider went down or something like that, they'd ride this bike out to pick them up, or just to get around during that event. I know this year they used the 450MT, so obviously that's a relationship that CFMOTO started with the Phillip Island Grand Prix. And then they sold this one off cheap, and it didn't come with the luggage, so it cost me $12,000. And I have to say, I always look at it, $12,000, I've had it for 12 months, it's $1,000 a month. Have I got my $1,000 a month of enjoyment out of it? I would have to say I absolutely have. Where would I rate it in terms of the bikes that I've owned? I've had a lot of, in my early years I had a lot of small capacity bikes, which I wouldn't, it's not fair to compare those to this. Anything from 250 to 500cc, you know, very old carved bikes with old technologies, they weren't particularly good bikes. But my 2010 bikes and beyond, so I had a 2011 Triumph Sprint ST and a 2014 Triumph Bonneville. This is build quality wise, rideability wise, comfort wise, this, I hate to say it because I love Triumph so much, and if I had an unlimited budget I would buy a Triumph adventure bike. This is so much better. This is the best bike I've owned. Some of the highlights for me have been the screen. I love the screen. I love having cruise control. It's not so much of a problem at the moment, but in our Victorian winter I loved having the heated seat and the heated grips. The brakes are fantastic. The back brake in particular I really like. I'm able to corner so much better because it's so effective when you drag that brake through tight corners in particular. The colour, I love the colour. I've said before, it looks like it's come straight out of the game, the Halo game series. The suspension is incredible. It holds a line like it's on rails. It's super comfortable. I love the big, broad, wide handlebars and just the broad frontal area as is. It really keeps the wind off your legs and chest. I mean, at the moment I'm getting a little bit of air on my shoulders, and like I mentioned before, a fair bit on my helmet, which the windscreen extender really fixed that for me. But you know, I'm relatively tall, between 6'1" and 6'2". I really enjoy the fact that one of the reasons that pushed me towards this bike is I would love a Japanese bike or an Aprilia, or the Ducati Desert X has to be one of the best looking bikes I've seen in a very long time, but they're also expensive. But given that I'm so new to adventure riding and wanting to dabble in a little bit of off-road, but still spend the majority of my time on-road, I didn't want to spend a stack of money on a first-time bike for that purpose. It was a little bit dangerous. That I was potentially, you know, going to worry about dropping and scratching and whatnot. This is very top heavy, this bike, and I've dropped it 3 times doing slow maneuvers. When you're on your way, that weight melts away, but during slow maneuvers and with the snatchy throttle, it can be a bit of a handful sometimes. And I've dropped it on 3 occasions when I've been doing really slow speed maneuvers, and on all 3 times the crash protection that comes standard on this bike have soaked up the damage with minimal damage to the crash bars themselves. So it's just such an excellent, well thought out bike for $12,000. I'm super happy. Yeah. Anyway, I've just gotten to Rawson, so I'm going to have a little break, have a snack. I think I've had maybe a little bit of rain, so and then we'll get back on the road again. So I'd probably be kidding myself if I thought I could talk about this bike without discussing its engine and its relationship to the controversial KTM LC8 engine from which it's based on. My first comment, and probably the most important one, is huge condolences to those people who bought those KTM bikes that were affected by the camshaft issues and God knows what other issues, and the really poor customer service from KTM following that. I've tried to, there's so much rumour and conjecture and misinformation, as there is with all things, and opinion about the matter online, that I've tried to only source my information from so like motorcycle news outlets, and thankfully from what I can tell so far is that none of the CFMOTO bikes with the engine derived from that particular engine. So this and the NK have had the same issues, which is I have to say is a huge relief. Here in Australia, where CFMOTO is a pretty established brand, it's been around in the agricultural industry for a very long time, and its motorbikes have been sort of knocking around for a lot longer and have been a lot easier to get than it sounds like they have been in areas like the United States. There's a lot of them getting around with tens of thousands of kilometres on them now with no issue, and the more I see, the more relieved I get. So I mean, it's at the end of the day, I bought a Chinese bike, so I'm always going to be a little bit anxious about the quality, but I've tried to remain optimistic, and to date my optimism has been well founded, because this bike appears to be really well made and is running really well. It's due a service, so it'll get its 12-month service, which will be good to see how it's going. I'll get the dealer to do it. I'd prefer to do it myself, but just because then I can keep an eye on if there's any particulates that have been caught up in the filters that might suggest any early signs of wear from any parts of the engine, particularly the cams. But in keeping with the warranties and whatnot, I'll get a CFMOTO dealer to do it in early January. But like I said, absolutely feel awful for those folks who invested. Times are so tight that motorcycles are such a luxury item for so many of us. We buy them in the hopes that they'll benefit our lives, and to think that people have bought them and they've not worked and they've got very little after sales service. The other thing we've got going for us here in Australia is we've got very strict consumer protection laws as well, so we're very lucky in that regards that warranties might be warranties, but we've also got very strict laws that protect consumers as well, so it's very hard to get away with anything here if you've got a subpar product. And you can prove a manufacturing defect, then there's not a lot you can get away with. So yeah, my thoughts are with those people who with KTMs and the state of KTM at the moment. I just hope those that haven't had their issues seen through yet, I hope they do, because yeah, motorbikes is such a huge financial outlay. But that's it. There's stories everywhere of BMWs that get recalled after recalled, or we had a Japanese car, I won't say which brand, that we had nothing but troubles with. Even my current car, my Nissan Navara, it's not bad, but it's had some stupid issues that we've had to deal with. That said, it's made in Thailand. It's a Japanese car, but like my Triumphs, it wasn't made in Japan, and it wasn't made in England. So hopefully that holds true and the engine stays as good and as reliable as it has been. It really is a highlight of this bike. I do love the engine. I love the sound it makes. So it seems to come from right here. This really, it's just a beautiful sound, but it's not obnoxious. It'll still keep me friendly with my neighbours. It won't attract the attention of the authorities. And when I take it on the like these little off-road sections through here, it still maintains some of the serenity of the bush, because it's not overwhelmingly loud or obnoxious. Always get stuck behind cars through my favourite turns here. Bummer. It's 22 degrees today. 2 days ago on Boxing Day it was about 40 degrees. So it's the last 2 days have been a sort of nice respite from that. I did buy I got a voucher for Christmas to buy some new motorbike gear, so I went and bought a new mesh jacket. make riding a little bit more palatable on those hot days. Now that this has proven the test of time, 365 days and 10,000 kilometers, I'm still as intent as ever as to riding this thing across the continent, so from Perth back to home, or from home to Perth. Whichever way I could do it, I'd be happy to do it. For those who are new to my channel, I almost kicked the bucket in January this year, and I've always wanted to do the trip across Australia from west to east or east to west, and I've never done it. And that was one of my big regrets when I woke from a coma. I was like, I can't believe I might die, and I've never done that. I live in one of the greatest countries, or the greatest areas of the world, and I've barely even explored it, because like most of us, I'm so consumed with work and staying afloat financially that everything else goes on the back burner. So hopefully, I reckon in the next 12 months, if I don't get that done, I'll be incredibly disappointed. But this is a bike that I'd very much like to do that on. It's very comfortable. The cruise control is a necessity for that. The fact that it's got so much weather and wind protection will make it so much less fatiguing. And definitely has the capacity to carry enough luggage to do that trip. Pretty decent fuel range too as well. It's not so much of a problem these days because like areas across the Nullarbor, which are quite remote in Australia, have lots of roadhouses, but I don't think there's any much greater distances than 200 kilometers between fuel stops now, and this does well and truly 350 kilometers on a tank, so it's got the capacity to well and truly reach those little stops along the way. It's so remarkable how so many cars are able to find their accelerator just when you get to a spot where you can overtake them. It's incredible. It's almost a coincidence. Well, thank you for watching my review video of the CFMOTO 800MT Touring Edition. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it entertaining. It's been a pleasure making these videos, so hopefully you're getting something out of them. If you have any suggestions about videos you'd like me to make, just leave them in the comments. I just ask that you leave comments that are respectful and adhere to community guidelines, otherwise they will be deleted. Thanks for watching. Thanks for those who have stuck around for all the videos. I really appreciate it. It takes a lot to put these videos together, so it means a lot to me when people leave messages and likes. So many thanks. Anyway, take care, enjoy your riding, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.